I have some music while we chill and let people hop on. Sorry for the delay. Echo. There's always noise. All right, y'all, I'll give a couple more minutes. Also, I just think this remix is really funny. Hail to the Chief, Obama's remix. All right, y'all, just one more minute or so. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that remix. Um, whew, I have a lot of things to say that I will say and that I won't say. But before we get started, I'm going to close this door. Well, I'll close it because no matter what I do, somebody always does it. So if you're new here, I want to say hi. My name is Abiola Agoro. I am an educator, organizer, and just a plethora of things. You may be one of the people that is in my Intro to Resistance class, or you may just be somebody that came across me, or somebody that was sent or shared all of this. And tonight is the State of the Union. And with everything that has and will continue to go on, it is so important that we make sure that we properly pool our resources, that we properly use our resources. And that is not only going to mean being able to really focus on what's important, but it's also going to mean that we have to very consistently and consciously prepare ourselves for how we direct and redirect our energy. Energy, whenever it comes to this kind of a space, is everything. People constantly will say, energy is, what is it, built, energy doesn't die, energy is, consistently kind of just a part of everything that we do. Everything has energy, whether or not we want it to. And how we use that energy that we have means so much. The State of the Union originally started in 1913, and the first State of the Union was held by, I believe, Woodrow Wilson. And part of it was trying to not only give a general update on the state of the Union, the United States, but also to gather people in one place and not only give the president a place to help progress their personal agenda, right? The State of the Union was both a tool of policy and a tool of, we could say, power, right? The whole presidency and all of these things are full of power, but being able to gather some of the most powerful people in a country in one space and hold their attention, a space where they are not allowed to be on their phones, a space where they are not allowed to casually leave, a space where it is expected, regardless of affiliation orientation, for these people, excuse me, we're not perfect here, y'all, for these people to really give you everything that they have, right? You don't go to a State of the Union address and expect to be able to run out and expect to be able to not really care. These are not things that are affiliated with this kind of a thing. That's part of the reason why you see folks so readily prepared to sit still and watch. You see them prepared to be captivated. State of the Union is so many things. And one thing, aside from people's attention, that makes it powerful is the ability to then send a single message all at once to those people while you have their attention. And that's why on a day like today and a moment like now, when we're dealing with him and all of these different things, that's why it is so important for us to not engage with what is very literally a mass tool of propaganda. The conversation of what is and what isn't propaganda has just completely fluttered throughout the last few years, the last couple decades, but especially in the last 6 months. We have seen major conversations on what should and shouldn't be called propaganda, especially whenever it comes to things that maybe we dislike or things that we find too pro-America or things that we find too anti-America or whatever, regardless of whatever affiliation you have. When we use the term propaganda, apologies TikTok, it means a lot of things. But what we don't recognize is the fact that propaganda can be anything and everything that is essentially used to push across a political standpoint or with the purpose of a certain kind of a goal. And that also means that propaganda sometimes isn't bad. That's one thing that's always really important to talk about this is propaganda has a wide breadth of effects. It has a wide breadth of importance at times, but it also has a wide breadth of disinformation that it can participate in. It also has a wide breadth of what it does and doesn't build up to. So when we are talking about something like this, it's a tool of propaganda. And propaganda in the negative sense that is used to continue to express power, that is used to spread power, that is used to continually give somebody who's already amassing power more power, is propaganda that we must disengage in. Something that I have been expressing, and I hoped that I was expressing it in a way that could be well received, that could be well heard. And I guess long term, I looked at it and I wasn't screaming it as much as I could have been, is that all press is good press to somebody like this. When you're talking about somebody who has a need to be the center of attention, you're talking about somebody who has a need to consistently be the most important aspect of your life, right? We use the term narcissist a lot. We use the term selfish a lot. We use all of these different terms a lot, but I don't think that we actually recognize the aspects that can feed into that, right? And regardless if I'm calling him or not a narcissist, is or isn't, whatever you want to say, what's important is anything that is ego driven loves to be the center. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It doesn't matter if it's negative. It doesn't matter, because all that is important to the kind of entity is to be a part of your mind. Over the last few years, if we had not had the obsession, is the best way to spread it, and not necessarily we, but people that especially held a certain level of political responsibility, people who held high levels of visibility, if there was not a need to look for attention, a need to seek just social currency, we would not have seen the rise of somebody like this. We would not have seen the continual uplifting of somebody like this. We would not have seen the ease of being able to gather this kind of audience, because it wouldn't have happened the same way without that attention. That attention is currency. When somebody has a dedicated base, when somebody has a dedicated group of people that will come to their aid no matter what, it doesn't matter what you say about them. It doesn't matter. You can say whatever you would like, but at the end of the day, if they are going to support them, they're going to do it no matter what you say. Moments like presidential debates that we talked about all the time and all these other histories have consistently shown that people watch them and they don't leave with different opinions. You have typically less than 10% of Americans, if that even, that watch a presidential debate. And from there, you have about 1 to 3% of people that attended out of the already 10% that change their mind based on it. That means when you're going, you already know who you want. You already know what you want to see from them, which means that you're just going for reinforcement. And that kind of behavior is a part of so many things that we do. So when you amplify somebody, even if it's for the sake of shaming them, even if it's for the sake of pointing out something, but they are doing the same thing they have always done, that doesn't make a difference necessarily. It doesn't mean that you can't dissent. It doesn't mean that speaking up doesn't matter. But what it does mean is that that energy and the way that you use and the way that you spread that energy is currency. That energy is everything. And we have to be so much more cautious about that and everything that we do in relation to that. Now, I want to say, first and foremost, if you can't already tell, again, if you're new to me, I have ADHD. This is a very neurospicy friendly space. And I know that people are always consistently coming into a space because they want to be heard, they want to participate. And so if anybody has any questions or comments at any point of when I am talking, you can always drop them in the chat. And if I need to, I'll just come back to it if it's something that I'm going to address later. But I want to make sure that people are aware of the point of why I am trying to get people to really be just more mindful about everything that they do, because of the fact that all of these aspects are so important and are underappreciated in everything that we do. So people don't necessarily get the respect they deserve for being a part of an audience, for being a part of a community. And what I'm building here, I've always said I'm building a community. And so if you want to ask any questions at any point, you are always welcome to do that. The biggest thing is that they should be well-intentioned and respectful. With that being said, part of the reason why I actually decided to do this today at all, I have to give the credit to my mom because initially she said, you need to do your own state of the, union address. And I was like, I was like, I don't know if that's something that I really care enough to do because I don't know what the efficacy of that is. And then when I realized that most of the coverage, and like I said, we're going to move things around because this is an easily distracted friendly space, multitasking space. When I realized that most of the coverage of this was going to continue to reinforce what we've already seen of somebody giving attention to somebody that wants the attention, right? Somebody being shocked about something that somebody has done. I was like, we need a space where we can actually just talk about resistance and we can address the state of resistance as it exists. I talked about this on a live earlier, but when a snake bites you, you shouldn't get shocked that it bit you. When a lion kills a gazelle, It should not be shocking, right? When a sloth is found on a tree, it's not shocking. We are talking about things and people that have consistently been a certain way in nature and their habits have not changed. So every single time we see this reaction to, oh my God, like so and so did this and he's the president, but he did, that has never changed. So we're sitting around wasting energy, being frantic over the habits of somebody that has continually been predictable. Everything, and when I say this, I truly mean everything that has happened as an attack on people, that has happened as an attack on just progress, has happened as an attack on actual liberation, on actual equity, has been predictable. All of these things have shown up either in history or they have shown up in these activism spaces where people have said, hey, this is a real risk. And when you have a real risk, this means that this is what could happen. So the shock, the utter just disappointment that people have with the actions of something that was predictable, that told you what it was, that has always been what it was, is a waste of energy. When we sit around and we say, oh my God, did you see the other day that a cheetah ran fast? Does that make sense? Does it make sense for us to look up and say, wow, it's raining, even though we know that it rained here every single day of every single month because we're in a certain type of environment that is highly likely to be wet? Are we supposed to be shocked that a dog barks? Right? Like, it's different whenever you have circumstances where you have something that is unpredictable. It's different when you have circumstances that have been unusual, right? You have things of moments, like most recently, there is a rare cheetah and his partner, and he is all black, like fully black, almost no spots. He is like this weird green color in part of the light. And that's unusual, right? You might see that and be like, I didn't really expect for a cheetah to look like that. But the cheetah that looks like a cheetah and acts like a cheetah and told you it was a cheetah should not be shocking to you that it then runs fast, because there has never been a misunderstanding of what has been given. Just because somebody else tells you, hey, you don't have to be worried about this thing over here, while the other people that have consistently have been drowning have given you a warning, it doesn't mean that what happened was unpredictable. And I don't say this to shame anybody, right? The only people that I will consistently shame are people that have high proximity, high levels of access to power, and have continued to abuse that. And I'm very hard on journalists. I am very hard on people that are in that kind of a space, that have access to all of these people and have continually pushed the fear mongering and fed into the ego of this man and in general everything that has been happening. I will be hard on them. But for the average person watching this, the average person in general, I'm not mad if you weren't aware of the fact that something was predictable. I just want you to know, because I don't want you to spend your energy being afraid of what we already know could happen and how we already know that we can combat what could happen. There is no need to spend so much energy fretting over the possibility, because at the end of the day, it's okay to be anxious. I have a whole anxiety disorder. My life exists in anxiety and stress so often and so much. But at the end of the day, sitting around being continually stressed about a predictable situation is not going to help you get out of it. It's not going to help you get your rights. It's not going to help you to be well protected. It's not going to help you to actually understand how to arm and properly prepare yourself for the situation. You're just going to run around in circles chasing your tail. And what is that going to do for anybody? Wasting energy isn't even about anybody else. Forget everybody else. Focus just on you and your life and what you are able to do with that. Every bit of energy that you are spending in the wrong direction is energy that you lose for whatever it is that you have wanted to do. But what's a big part of that, and being able to recognize that and being able to properly move forward and being able to really make sure that we are actually becoming equipped, is to recognize the fact that you have a blueprint. Just like somebody said, they announced the blueprint. They told you what they were going to do. And so now you have the opportunity to see what somebody is going to do and to prepare yourself in the best way possible. Resistance is so much more than marches. Resistance is so much more than, toppling a statue. Not to say that toppling a statue is not very important, but resistance is so much more sometimes than these very specific acts that we put so much weight into, that we then teach ourselves that if we are not doing something along those lines, that we are not engaging in proper resistance. Not watching propaganda that is harmful propaganda is resistance. Making sure that you turn off everything that is in relation to that in order to make sure that you are not going to feed into that is resistance. Distracting an officer that you know is going to be harassing somebody down the street is resistance. Understanding the way that you buy products and what your money goes to is resistance. Being able to learn about the people around you and the state that they're living in is resistance. Being able to fight back against everything that you were consistently being taught is resistance. All of these things are resistance. And we have to stop framing movements as being focused on marches. Marches are important, but marches are a conglomerate. Marches are the full culmination of all of the different parts of resistance that exist. There's a lot that goes on before and after marches. And marches are not going to be the best solution for a lot of things. Because while mass mobilization is important, mass mobilization in the form of physically showing up in that way is not going to address certain issues. It gives visibility, but certain things need more than visibility. For the next couple of months, we're going to be going over, in my class that we have called Intro to Resistance, over the different methods of resistance. We've spent some time talking about the archetypes. We spent some time talking about what it means to resist, but now being able to refocus and say, what can I do to resist? What does resistance look like? What's an avenue to do this thing, this big term, this big word that we keep getting told? What is that? What is resist? What am I supposed to do with that? Well, there are so many different ways that are so important in the way that they impact, whether it is on a connected scale, connected to a larger movement, or it is detached from a larger movement, but it still overall helps us get to that goal. There's a video, and I was going to try and have it queued up to show, but I couldn't figure it out how to do it properly because I'm still learning some of these new systems. And in it is a young white man who walks up and starts twerking in front of the officer when the other officer showed up to ask him questions after he was pretending to drink a beer in front of them. And he leaned over and started twerking. And it was one of the funniest things I have seen all week long. And it made me scream laughing. And there were some people in the comments that were like, that's such a waste of their time. That's resistance. Being able to deplete a resource that you know is going to go to harm is resistance. We talk often about, the Boston Tea Party and whenever they threw all this tea into this river, and people don't understand that the purpose of it wasn't just to cloud a river, right? And it didn't cause much environmental damage. That's a misconception. But the purpose of it wasn't to just cloud a river. It was to destroy a very financially lucrative and important aspect of colonialism. Tea is expensive. Even now it's still expensive, but then it was expensive. When you take what is supposed to be a year's supply of something and you reduce it in a minute, you are not only making a stand, but you are depleting the financial resources of the entity that would need that to be able to do that. And yes, if you didn't bring snacks, you can still hang out. You can also go get a snack while we're here. You can always stop and go get a snack. I promise you, I won't be upset about it. I say bring snacks because a lot of times people get stressed and then they don't eat. So, but you're wasting their resources, you're wasting their time. And the depletion of resources, the redistribution of assets, the redistribution of energy is a powerful, powerful tactic. For every annoying, or we're going to call him Connor, for every annoying Connor that bends over to twerk in an officer's face, who we know is not going to be at the same kind of a risk of being harmed as, Keisha down the street, as Devon down the street, right? As somebody that could be named or look anything in relation to Hispanic communities, and they're just going to lose their minds. Every moment that Connor twerks in front of that officer, one of those people is saved. And it may sound extreme to make that extrapolation, right? It may seem extreme to say, there's no way that Connor bending it over and shaking it in front of an officer is going to make a difference. It actually does. And it actually can, because not only is it going to physically distract the officer, but it's going to mentally distract the officer. Can you imagine if you're in a position of authority, especially if you are in a very harmful police department? If you're in a place where you know you are consistently looking out for people to bother, if you're in a place where you know that you are going to make the room to cause problems because you have the power to do so, and somebody disrespects you, it's stuck in your head. One of the most important things about egos and ego-driven entities, especially when we're talking about white supremacy, all these different things that are connected, is the way that you can distract based off of that ego. It can be a weapon, but it also can very much be a tool to destroy the weapon that it exists within. If you're an officer and somebody that consistently causes harm in a community and somebody twerks in your face, you're going to think about that for the rest of the day. All I know is that if somebody twerked in my face and I was in a position of authority and did it so blatantly, and I knew I couldn't mess with them, not only because systematically they were protected, but also because of the fact that I know that they're more aligned with me than anybody else. So I'm going to tolerate it. I'm going to think about it for the rest of the day. And that's going to impact my ability to go around potentially prepared to harass different entities. It is going to make it to where I am not as equipped to do the harm that I wanted to do. That is what that does. That is a very literally strong part of all of this. And so Connor bending it over can literally help so many different groups of people. And it's powerful and impactful and important how often we look at little ways that we can be like Connor. If you know you have the systematic power of a Connor or of a Tracy or of, a Tom or whatever these things are, if you know that you have that kind of a power and you can use it on a daily basis in the smallest ways possible, that's good work. That is work that not only will make you feel better, but it will help the people around you. Resistance is about so much more than making yourself struggle. It's about empowering yourself and making sure that you can replenish your energy through your work. Whenever you do something that is going to help your community, it gives you something back. Unless you're not doing it for the right reasons in the first place. And then that's a personal reflection point that we have to look further into. But if you can know that what you're doing is important, you can know that you're supposed to have an impact with that work, it fills you up. You may see somebody get on TV and say that they're going to deport 1 million people, right? They're going to get up there. They're going to say those things, right? Because again, it's not shocking. It's not new. They told us they were going to try and do that. That's a goal. They've given us their goal. They've told us how they're going to try and achieve that goal, even if some of it's not achievable because it legally does not work, which is part of the reason why sometimes being scared without being educated is just a waste of time and energy, reinforces the idea that this is a big, all-powerful boogeyman, and that's not how that works. But whenever they say something like that, but you know that you can distract ICE officers in your neighborhood, you know who is an ICE officer, and you know that maybe you can work with them to not only leave their position, but to end up having them recruit some of their fellow folks to do it, or giving them misinformation and disinforming them on how to harm the people near you, then you can reduce that big number that they want to have. You can reduce that impact of those 1 million people that they want to deport. Because through your actions, you are able to keep your community safe. You're able to give them an opportunity to live happily, successfully, peacefully, giving them the opportunity to not be sucked into that system. And that should bring you joy. People that cause the most harm in the world have fun while they cause it. There is nobody, I would argue this to down into the ground. There is nobody that sits down and drops a button on a group of people to watch them die and doesn't enjoy it. These people that brag about what they can do to others, these people that brag about how much power they have fun while they're doing it. And that's part of what sustains them. So if they're going to have fun causing harm, we're going to have fun repairing and stopping the harm. We can giggle while we twerk like Connor. We can giggle while we misdirect those people that we know are going to try and bother somebody. We can giggle while we do all of it. We can dance and we can show them that we still have so much more to offer in this world. And that's going to piss them off because it's not as fun to do that harm if you know that it's not going to affect that community the way that you want it to. If you know that they still have something left to give, it's going to piss you off because you want to take everything. Being in the mindset of somebody that causes harm is unfortunately sometimes a very useful tool to be able to step into, to be able to see this is what drives them. So how can I kill that drive? And you being who you are kills that drive. I say all of this to say, because I want to kind of come to a conclusion and give us space to move forward and get some questions and kind of, spend a little bit of time with you all, just continuing to make space for this work. But being able to say that everything matters. It is not the end of the world. It is not the end of the world. This is not the worst history has been through. I will argue people down into the ground about that. And I do have a lesson that I'm trying to make sure is going to be, let's say, well balanced to help people understand that the world has been through worse. And people that don't know that, or that say that's untrue, just don't know enough history. And it's not their fault. Our system is built on making sure that people don't know. My mom, she's in the corner. She's not necessarily their fault. Most of the time, it's not their fault, right? Because we have people being like, wow, the earth's going to burn. And it's like, I want you guys to think, do you know how it would have felt to live during the bubonic plague? Like, there's no way that those people didn't feel like, then this is the worst that the world has ever been. But before that, 50 to 100 years, we had multiple other different types of pandemics that had existed that gave precursors to what was going to happen. And people still exist after that. People still live after that. The 1960s felt like hell for a lot of people, the people that are still alive that did that work. And there are many of them that are still here, thank God. And we're not in the 1960s. We're not in those time periods. We have better tools. We have better all of these things. Do the bad people have better tools? Yes, but we do too. We just got to learn how to use them faster than they are learning how to use them. That's all we have to do. And it may sound oversimplified. I know some people are going to say this is disrespectful. I'm not telling you not to be scared. I'm not telling you not to have fears. There are days where I feel like I cannot breathe dealing with some of this stuff. But what I can tell you is that fear cannot overpower your understanding of the fact that things have been worse and we can be okay. We will be okay. Okay may be relative. Maybe okay is not what we want it to be. But we can be okay. We just have to put the work in, and we have to make sure that we are not giving more power to these things than we need them to. We have a boogeyman in the closet. Let's take him out. Where's our bat? You got a boogeyman in the closet. What are you going to do to get rid of it? You can't hide underneath your bed for long because that's not going to work. So we need to start addressing these things exactly in this kind of a manner and make sure that we are checking on each other and having that understandably being a part of all the work that we regularly do. So I hope that all of the words that have fallen out of my mouth have allowed for some of y'all to really be able to see effectively long term what is going to be the building foundation of everything that we do. That's why we don't have right now a state of a union, right? We don't have a unified nation. And arguably we never have. But instead of trying to focus on building a unionized, in the sense of a unified, is the better term to use, country, we build things based on resistance, because that resistance is going to make it to where we can actually do the things that we know we need to do, that we know we want to do, that we're capable of. A state of resistance is what we're in, and a state of resistance is what is going to save us. We don't need to be in a state of complacency, but resistance can also be rest. Sometimes when you take that 3-hour-long nap because you have been up and the world has been fighting you and you feel guilty about it, remind yourself that 3-hour nap just gave you 3 more hours of an ability to power through and to fight something. And if you need a week's worth of naps, that's resistance too. All of these things have you in a state of moving forward. I've said this before and I will always say it again, is when you are moving still, whether it's an inch, 10 inches, whatever, every time that you move forward a little bit, you are moving a lot more than you think, because there is a world trying to pull you behind. Every time that you are able to maintain where you are making a difference, because there is a world that is trying to yank you backwards. And the fact that they can't says that you are making a much bigger impact than you give yourself credit for. The fact that they cannot pull the rug from underneath you says that you are finding a sense of balance that is powerful. If all you're doing is napping, but you're still alive, then that nap is keeping you. And that's powerful. Existence is resistance to people that don't want you to exist. Existence is everything to people and to groups that want to find joy in your demise because you're still here. And if I was somebody that was full of this obsession for power and I wanted to see the world burn, and there's something that just won't go down, that's going to piss me off. And that is such a powerful thing consistently to be able to operate in. So I want to take a second now. Thank you, Nzinga, and ask you all, what do you all need in this moment? I was going to have a full structured lesson and I decided, no, we're going to breathe. We're going to have some heart to heart. And I want to really fill your minds and your brains with something that is going to help feed you. I want to meet you where you are instead of draining you. So I said, you know what? PowerPoints aside. Plus, to be honest, if we're being quite honest, transparent, I didn't have time to make the PowerPoint the way I would have wanted to make it. So, you know, it doubles very usefully. But speak to me, you guys. Where are you all currently in your states? What are you looking for? What do you need? I see the sweaty face, but that's okay. You can put all your hearts and feelings into the comments. Of course, you have to do it in sections, but you know, make it work. But what do you guys need? What is going to help you find your state of resistance and stay in it? Do you even know what your state of resistance looks like? How to build coalitions? Yes, that's a really, really important part. How to build coalitions is very great. And I am taking notes on this so that I can also gear some lessons toward this for you all as well in general. Coalition, you just need to join when they already exist. Sometimes building a coalition doesn't need to be 20 organizations. Sometimes a coalition can very literally be 5 people twerking in front of officers. And I'm going to keep using that example because that's the funniest thing in the world to me. I cannot get over that video. I'm going to repost it. I need for people to see that. It was a slow twerk too. That was the worst part. It was a slow twerk. Thank you. Yeah, Leah, I'll make sure that this is posted on YouTube so you can re-listen to it. Sorry that I've been giving more FaceTime to my phones than over here. And I'm glad to help you guys feel more empowered. I'm honored to be able to do that, to have the space to do that. That's what helps drive me, is making sure I can give something to other folks. Dropping comments, questions. There is no such thing as a bad question here as long as you mean the question. Now, if you're disrespectful, you're going to get got. But other than that, I want to take the rest of this time to not just talk at you guys, but to try and talk with you and kind of spend more time, you know, having an informal moment of community building and an informal moment of opportunity to maybe help debunk some things. Because I did spend a lot of time doing a lot of extra random research today about some other things just to make sure that I can have the answers. I did spend time. I did a backwards info dump. What is that called? What is the backwards info dump? Research dump? Whatever you want to call it. And I'll say that this for the YouTube part, for anybody that's watching this later, is the formal break. What's going on? And let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Oops, I moved my little logo. Tariffs. Tariffs are going to be a lot. But you know what's really great about the tariffs? What's really great about the history of tariffs is tariffs are they're a government's way of essentially pranking each other. And again, I know someone's going to say that's reductive. That's if you really, really just barely even understand tariffs, then the biggest thing is to understand that it is adding a fee on top of something, but it's adding a straightforward fee. So if I say, hey, we're going to have tariffs on water bottles, then that means that the country that wants to import these water bottles has to pay my percentage for these water bottles. And if you understand how many things are imported and exported in this country, then you understand how wild it is to have something so oddly used to have a level of pettiness engaged in. And I think when we break government actions down to being petty, this is not to minimize them, but it's to understand that these are not entities doing things for the sake of their people more often than not. Just quite frankly, these are entities that are doing things, and the goal is going to be power, but power in what way is the question. So when you look at these tariffs and you see the behaviors, I want you to think about the pettiest text messages going back and forth to help you kind of look at it in that kind of way and be able to frame it as the mindset of people that are acting out in whatever way they may be. Because a lot of the times tariffs are really not and again, somebody might be like, I don't really care. A lot of the time, tariffs are not for a serious purpose. Tariffs, more often than not, are heavily impacted by political gains or political losses. The amount of tariffs that the United States has put against groups and has removed from groups for the sake of having some sort of diplomacy is massive. We put tariffs on Haiti for absolutely no reason way back whenever Haiti first was able to gain their freedom. Then we did it again heavily in the 1960s. We did it again in the 1980s, 1990s. We did it heavily in the 2000s because they started becoming more militant. The tariffs weren't for a reason, except for trying to minimize the power that was gained. Ooh. Info binge. I like that. Thank you. With all this happening, what are the main things to ground ourselves on? You really have to stay informed. And I hate the phrase stay informed sometimes because I think it can be so hollow. But what I will say is it's more than staying informed, it's staying contextualized. I've called myself a contextualist on here for a lot of reasons as of late because of the fact that information without context is useless. So if you can make sure that everything you see, you can understand the purpose of it, the goal of it, and the result of it, you'll be able to really just fight back so much more effectively, right? There is a executive order that was one of the first executive orders put out where he said that he was going to like make the third presidency like make it to where he could be president for a third time. The legal loopholes to do that don't exist in the way people think that they do. And I got put underneath fire for some reason on TikTok when I explained this because people just were not prepared to really hear it. The presidency, as it exists, right, is enshrined in the Constitution. There are two different things that exist constitutionally. You have constitutional like rights that are explicitly stated, and you have rights based on the Constitution. And often, whenever we've had things that are overturned, it's because they were right based on an interpretation of the Constitution. The First Amendment says you have the right to essentially speak, to express yourself, but those are not tangible words. Those are not tangible things. The Constitution very explicitly states that a president can only have 2 terms. There is not a room for interpretation of what 2 terms are. We know that 2 terms are 4 years. That cannot be interpreted as something else. You cannot fight legally to change that. The only avenue for being able to change that and put that executive order into action would be to have a constitutional convention. And what that is it requires 2/3, no, 3/5 of the states to agree on changing the Constitution. It also requires 2/3 of the House and the Senate first to agree on doing that. And you have to have either the people of a state or the legislators of a state, which would be the state's governing bodies. That could be, it's the state Senate and the state House, because we have state Senate and House, and then we have, federal, state, and House. So it would be having those 2 chambers both agree by an overwhelming majority to approve to change the Constitution. This is not a small thing. This is harder than an election. This is not you put a name down and you vote on it. There are multiple processes to do this, and that is why constitutional amendments rarely happen. It is extremely hard to get a constitutional amendment to happen. Is it impossible? No, nothing's impossible. We could all get hit by a meteor right now. Nothing's impossible at that aspect. But the likelihood of it happening, it's not going to happen overnight. If they do manage to make it happen, you have all the warning signs. And statistically, it's not going to happen because the power that it takes to do that is not something that is solely based in somebody's ability to get on their own platform and just complain. That's not how that works. It's not how that works. And opening up a constitutional convention is dangerous even for the people that like the idea of potentially having their favorite for a third term. They don't like that either necessarily, because don't forget, these are people that love the law. So the idea of just opening something up, it's not as easy as it seems. So that's one example of that thing. So that to go back to your question, Nisei, is being able to look at the fact that it's having information, being able to look at what is the feasibility of this to happen, why is this happening, what's the goal of this happening, and being able to break it down every part of the way. That will help you to ground yourself some. And you're not going to always have the answers, but being able to find trusted sources that you know that have a goal that is not going to conflict with what you need is important. And by that, I mean being careful of who you're listening to, right? I always tell people, and this is something that I've said whenever I teach kids, I say when I teach adults, is what is the purpose of the person telling you something? What's their goal? What do they benefit from telling you? And why are they telling you? If somebody wants to give you drama and they want to tell you, somebody's business, why are they telling you? Are they bored? Are they interested in some of the involvement of it because it benefits them? What is the purpose of it, and who are they? Are they somebody that has consistently proven themselves to be untrustworthy? Do they benefit off of it in some kind of a way? I've said that chaos is financially beneficial for a lot of news entities, because when things are chaotic and people are scared, they watch the news more. Those ratings go up. And what's more important on top of that is the fact that advertisement space becomes much more lucrative. If more people are watching you because they're scared, and they can sell you more because you're scared, and they can charge more to be able to sell you more, then that might be part of the reason why they're sharing something in the way they are. And this is not a never trust the media conversation, but it is a understand that most of these media organizations are still businesses. And sometimes when they are maximizing a story and they're stringing it along, instead of telling you, hey, 2 + 2 = 4, they want to tell you about how point 1 came from this and came to that instead of just giving you the information. It's because stretching it out is good for them. Okay, let me see if I have anything else. You have a plan to do some community building as well as a business idea that is focused on being able to help the homeless. If my plan goes how I would like in the community building aspect, what would be the best next step to fight back for resistance? So if you're doing something that is focusing on being able to help homeless populations, the first question is, how many homeless people do you know? And this, again, it's not supposed to be a personal shot, but like, how many homeless people do you know and how often do you talk to them? Because the biggest work, I grew up doing work for unhoused people. The term homeless, unhoused, big conversation. We can have that later because I don't want to go off into that little tangent. But where I grew up and how I grew up, we would stop by and just talk to people, right? No goal, no cameras, no nothing. You're just chatting with people. Maybe you're dropping off food. And when you chat with them, you learn what is and isn't helpful. So when you have people bringing these like fancy, weird things to people that are unhoused, if you actually know them, they're going to tell you that's not helpful. They're going to be like, hey, I don't want a pretty expensive purse. I want a pillow. Pillows are one of the most highly coveted items I have ever brought anytime I do drop-offs with regular people. Pillows. I had grown adults, people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, right? No hate, no shame, begging me if they could have 2 pillows out of the pillows that I brought. I brought food and pillows. They wanted the pillows because having something to sleep on is so undervalued that they were like, hey, sure, I can find some food later, but like something clean and soft to lay my head on is extremely important. This is not going to go for every community everywhere, but for my community, that's something that really was important that I learned. And I've been doing work forever and I didn't expect that response. So the first thing is, do you know these people and what is going to be useful for them? That's an important question. And you can drop follow-ups in here. Hey, Jamila. Okay, hold on. Somebody says January 6th was successful. I'm inserting logic where there is none. I will take the bear. Nobody in the movement space that has a high level of, we'll say, experience navigating chaotic political situations would have told you Doge wouldn't happen. I wouldn't have told you that wouldn't have happened. I'm not everybody, and be quite honest. But unfortunately, I have spent the majority of my life doing this work. So I know a lot whenever it comes to what is predictable and what is not. And Doge was predictable. January 6th was predictable. There have been multiple coups attempted and successfully done in the entire history of the federal government and in the local governments. If you look at the history solely of race riots, there have been multiple times where they were able to successfully run political elected officials out of office because they were Black or because they were whatever group of people. Those riots, they can be successful and they are predictable. You can tell based on cultural tensions. You can tell based on, like, the different aspects of communication that are happening. Has communication gone underground for that group? There are a lot of predictive measures, and the entities that are supposed to do that we have, like the FBI, are also known for not wanting to until it personally impacts their agency. It's just in the last 25 years that we have really seen a heavy reduction of the interactions between law enforcement being aligned with something like the KKK. Those two groups have been intertwined for so long that it had to be enshrined by the Supreme Court in general law, which could be overturned because it's just a Supreme Court ruling, and those things can always be overturned, that they should not be connected. So January 6th was very much predictable. And I know that might sound derogatory, and I want to make everything I say very clear. I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I'm not going to be, trying to think of the best phrase. I'm not going to be disrespectful or think I'm better than somebody for knowing something. You can't know what you weren't taught. But I will say that there are things that were there, you just didn't know them, and you possibly couldn't have known them because you didn't have the right resources around you. So I want to make sure that people understand there is still logic because there are things you can't do. DOGE is not in the Constitution, but USAID isn't in the Constitution either. A lot of the things that are being taken away were never in the Constitution. They were never made permanently. They were just things that we were given. They were things that people didn't think would be overturned. But if you look at the origins of the USAID anyways, it wasn't there for that long. So it's important. It's important that we remember, I think the last state to become a part of the United States happened in like the 1940s, 1950s. We didn't even have 50 states 100 years ago. A lot of things can change. Oops. And y'all on YouTube, also drop your comments. TikTok's where the most comments are coming in right now. Unhoused sounds euphemistic. Yeah, I've had a lot of people that say, just call me homeless. So, they say, just call me homeless. They're like, I don't care about, they're like, I don't care what you call me. I just care about what you do to help me. But that's difference of opinion. We all have different opinions on that. Okay. Free community garden. That is really impactful. Being able to get a consistent, sustainable food source that's local is a really big deal. So you wanting to do a community garden is excellent. I would say some of the biggest next steps, you can send me a message afterwards too, are going to be able to make sure that you're going to have the area to do the community garden. You're going to want to know who owns the area, because they might tell you, hey, you can have this, and have all these people come here to get this food, but they might change their mind because they might realize that they don't want anybody that is homeless coming around their area if their development is there. So you want to make sure that you're doing a deep dive into where the community garden would be based and the political stances of the people around that. You can look and see if they typically vote against or fund legislation that is anti-homeless. You can see their public comments. You can see the top C-suite, which is the CEO, CFO, COO, all the C's at the top of those organizations and those businesses. See how they engage on social media. Some of them have stopped using social media as much, but people are stupid and they're always going to show their ass one way or the other. So you can find that information. Make sure you check on that, because that will help make sure that you don't build a garden and build this resource for someone to say, hey, we don't want those people over here. And that's really underrated. And yes, socks, everything. Socks are everything. You said you do not know them personally yet, but the plan is to meet and talk. I want to focus on food. Yeah, most definitely. And yes, I do reply to emails. Sometimes I forget and I don't reply for a week. I do forget. But just send me an email. If you need to send me a follow-up, send me a follow-up. I do my best to respond to people that are not wasting my time or being disrespectful. There is somebody who's emailed me 7 times in the last 2 weeks because they keep saying that I should hire them to do something. And I keep seeing the emails and I am going to block them, because why would I hire you I'm not made of money. I do most of this work for free. So that's somebody who I'll block. But anybody else, especially people who just need help, follow up with me. I'm not offended. Like, you have to be a very specific type of person to irritate me via email, like sending me 7 emails. Oh, to build a website. I'm like, dude, what email do I, what money do I have to hire you to build a website? And you email me 7 times in 2 weeks. Like, you're making me not want to check my emails. I do have anxiety. I do get nervous responding to people. Sometimes that's why I don't respond, is because I go in there and then I'm like, dang, does this sound stupid? And then I just delete the response and then I forget because I thought I sent it already. Someone said I emailed about the book list last week. Oh, see, I'll go make sure that I check on that, Nikki. Thank you. And yes, thank you, Leah. Leah, we're just spending the time tonight just talking about resistance and the state of all of these things, answering questions, just trying to create a space for y'all to really breathe and not obsess over, you know, that asshole on the stage talking. Excuse my language. You were homeless in San Diego for a few years. You didn't know so much that you didn't know that you needed to learn. Yeah, that's one of those experiences. Some people also don't realize that 1 year of homelessness actually decreases people's life expectancy higher than like diabetes. Being homeless for 10 years kills more people than diabetes and heart disease. Like, it's, you know, or no, heart disease is the first one, diabetes is after that. Then there's one more thing, and then it's being homeless for 10 years plus. It very literally kills people to be homeless. And 1 year of being homeless very literally decreases your life expectancy. It's something that I didn't know as much about until I worked with the Poor People's Campaign this past year. And they asked me to do some more research on it because they already had some of the numbers. And I did a deep dive and it it blew my mind. And so it's one of those things that people don't understand because they don't understand how much is connected to poverty. And the very big aspect of our lives is where we sleep and where we are able to stay. And those are things that we kind of just don't always give a certain level of respect to. Even people that have been in financially tight situations, there's nothing that's the same as being homeless, because it is literally not having a place to consistently be. And that does a lot for our brain because we're not nomads. That's not who we are. And even that being a nomad is a choice. So that's, you know, it's one of those things. But yes, anybody can always email me if I forget to respond. Give me, if I don't respond in a week, remind me. Because like I said, there's 2 people right now and they asked for, there's someone in here that asked for a book list, but that's not you. I'm thinking of Nikki. There's somebody else and they asked for like a specific list of organizations. And so I haven't forgotten. I've just been gathering the organizations and putting them into the little email draft so I can send them all at once. But you always feel free, send me a follow-up email. If I don't respond in a few days, I'm not going to be mad. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes I'm just anxious. I always have to tell people I do have anxiety. I don't just say it. Your girl has panic attacks sometimes. It's one of those things. Questions, thoughts, other things, drop it in. You're making a website with Canva? Good. Free and easy. Use all the resources. And if you start an organization, even if you don't get a full nonprofit, Canva will give you all of their pro services for free. Okay. Oh, hey, Dom. Joining a Black and brown femme-led mutual aid group that has done wonders for me. Organizing with white people is tiresome. It is also about who you're around, and making sure that you are around people that are equipped to do it. I made a post a little while back and I explained to people, you know, if you ask a fish if you need to know how to swim, they're probably going to tell you no, right? If you ask a fish, you know, is this something that I need? Do I have to do this thing? Or I think that's not the exact example I used, but I was just trying to explain that you're asking the wrong people for the wrong thing. So they're always going to give you the wrong answers, right? If you ask people who haven't done organizing work a very long time, they might not be able to give you answers because they don't have the headspace to even think of those things. Being in resistance, being in a mindset of pushing back and combating against harmful forces is a skill that can be learned, but it is a skill that has to be continually sharpened. So if you don't even know what questions to ask, you might not know what you're missing. You may literally not know because you haven't been taught. And so it is something that you have to learn and implement if you have not already been in it. It's a skill that you can build and that you have to build. So making sure that you are organizing and learning from the right people is going to be making sure you're with people that have experience. And it doesn't have to be experience in years, right? People don't, I'm 27. A lot of people apparently do not know how old I am. I've passed for older my entire life. Like, I have always been in spaces and people have left me alone. I've been able to go wherever I wanted because I'm 27, but people think I'm literally every other age other than that. And I'm not really offended by it. And part of it is because of the experience that I have, because I have, and I'm not even joking, 18 years of organizing experience. I started when I was a kid. I started when I was a teen, organizing work and movements and like, building in community and actually like being on the ground and doing real work that was serious and real. And people don't realize that. So it's not even necessarily the age, it's really the experience and also the ability to use that experience. On TikTok, are we doing okay? Are we having connection issues? Somebody let me know on TikTok if we're having connection issues. 27 in this lifetime. I have been here before, according to all of the older folks that I've ever met. Oh, Nikki said it was very stressful to be homeless. You were hopping Airbnb, hotel, car. Yeah, and especially if you did that in DC, it's a lot. It's a lot. Not having a place to consistently settle yourself is a lot. Live is frozen. Okay, hold on, y'all. Okay, TikTok, let me know how we're doing. I just switched off of what I was on the Wi-Fi. I'm a year younger than you, Savvy. Hello. I should forward those lists to everyone. Yes, I'll try and do that. I try and continually like give you things, but sometimes I don't want to obsessively give people. I do have a newsletter that I used to do every Sunday. This was like over a year ago, and I did it for like a good 6-7 months, which is really big for me. Called Sunday Digest. So on Sundays, I send out a newsletter, and not only does it include news that you might have missed from the week, that's top news in the movement space, but also like fun things, general like movement work. Now that I actually have my classes all up and running, updates on classes, like recommended courses that you can do for free on other things. So that's supposed to start going out again next week, if I can get it done in time. And so I'll share those kind of resources in that newsletter, and it'll just be once a week because I can't do a newsletter more than once a week anyways. I can't do it more than once a week, so you're not going to get more emails than that. So you don't have to worry about being bombarded. So yes, I will try to include that kind of thing in there. Okay, I'm glad we're doing better on TikTok. Let me know. Make sure if you don't already think I saw it, just send the message again because sometimes it glitches. Do I have any recommendations for someone who is completely new to resistance and organizing? I'm not sure where to get in contact with the right people. I'm making zines and distributing them. I could give you so much on it, but let me ask first, do you like to read? And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. Everybody doesn't learn the same. Do you like to read? That is my question for you, Yumi. Do you like to read? That's my first question. Where do you recommend finding mutual aid groups? Instagram. Don't ask me why, but for some reason, Instagram is where I find all my mutual aid groups. For some reason, it is such an easy place to search. And once you find one place that's a mutual aid group and you find the state, you can typically go on their following list and go from there and find someone else. So every time I have mutual aid recommendation, it came off of Instagram if it's not somebody that I know. And typically Oregon has like a really wide mutual aid group because Portland has been, a big facet of pushing forward and, progress and yada, 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 in some ways. But anyways, there's a really large community there that focuses on mutual aid. So if you can find some of the Portland groups and go on their Instagrams, you can find their following groups all over the country. There are certain hubs in organizing work that are going to just be really useful for jumping off to other places. One is Oregon, specifically Portland. One is always going to be Washington, DC. But you do have to be careful with DC because DC itself, I've lived there multiple times, is wonderful in terms of the people that are from there. But the entities that use DC as their operating base can be deceptive and really have a goal of causing harm more so than building forward from harm. So DC and the people that are from there, especially the Black community, has a lot of really great mutual aid groups that you can also find. You can also go on like my following list on Instagram, and I try and follow a lot of those groups as soon as I see them, and you can type in like aid and see who pops up. But yeah, and again, if you ever have follow-up questions on anything I talk about on live, just message it to me. If I forget to respond and I don't respond within a week, just message me again. message me again. I promise you, if you're asking about something that's important, I will not get mad. The people I get mad about is a very specific group of people that is disrespectful. My mom's like, can I stop importing this into her plans?
I can't reach it.
Oh my God.
Just toss it.
Oh, she got a new little bulb.
Yeah.
Do you want me to cut a piece off? Because I can
No,
propagate. Okay.
Don't do it, no.
Okay, back to you, May. Also, I saw somebody else said they like to read. So I do have a book program where I give away free books. I just got another donation, so I'll be able to buy some more because I had more of y'all submit the free book form than I was expecting, which I'm very excited about. But it's, you know, I always tell people, you submit it. It's not guaranteed to get out during a certain time period. It might take me a month.
Daddy watched part of the address.
Why did he watch it?
I don't know.
I hope y'all didn't hear that. Oh my God, my parents. Oh God, living with your family is something else. So if you can submit a request for a free book, it's literally bit.ly/books from Abiola. It's on my link in my bio. You can find it, request a book. Or if you only have like $10 and you need to buy a book, you can donate $10 and I can put that towards like the other stuff because sometimes books are very expensive. So so just let me know. Okay, back to you, Yume. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, let me know. So if you like to read, then like I don't want to get up to go get the book because I don't feel like walking up the stairs. But Ijeoma Oluwa is somebody that I have become more accustomed with and more equipped with, and I really love her. Be a Revolution is really, 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 really great reading for baby activism. Like if you're starting off and you are a baby, it's a great read. I think I have 4 copies upstairs right now. So if you want one, you can send me a message and I'll try and get it mailed out like Thursday. So it's Be a Revolution by Ijeoma, and that is great. Nikki, you're asking for the book list, so if you need to submit a request. Oh, there was the book list for the class was included on, I think, the second email I sent. So you might have to go in there and look and see if the documents I attached. If you don't see it, I'll just resend it to you. But the book list that we're going to have so we're not having class next week. You got to send an email. It'll be like casual conversations, but not full class. The following week, the book that we're going to be starting with is Negroes with Guns. So that's the book I brought up a couple of times, and we'll actually be reading it for that week, reading excerpts from it. And then there's one more I'm trying to see if I'm going to include it or not, but Negroes with Guns is one of the books that you do need the soonest. And I got 2 more copies of that in as well. Trying to get those copies. I don't know why that book, it's like $8 on different places. Like Amazon has it for $8, but the shipping can take anywhere from a week to like 3-4 weeks. So, but yes, you may submit, if you go submit a request in my bio right now for Be a Revolution, I don't think anybody else has submitted one for that recently, then I can mail you off a copy of one of those. Because Be a Revolution, it's very good for like baby activism. It's good for general overview. And then the second book that is really good that a lot of people know, but just because people know it doesn't mean it's not good, is it's by Mariame Kaba, and it's not We Do This Till We Free Us. It's the other book. Hold on. And this is a book I've been trying to get copies of as well because it's a great one. Why is it not coming up? What in the world? Hold on, I'm trying. I don't know why I can't remember the name of it all of a sudden. We Do This Till We Free Us is a book that she wrote about abolition, but this other book she wrote, Let This Radicalize You. Great book. Let This Radicalize You. I didn't read it from cover to cover yet, but I read through lots of little aspects because I don't read books cover to cover. I read sections and then I get distracted and then I read research articles. Come here. Why are you going to make noise like that? And then I read research articles about something that I had questions on because it came up while I was reading the book. So the way I read is very chaotic. I don't read books cover to cover, and I never really have. It just doesn't work for me. So that's why I don't ever want people to try and read them cover to cover if they're going to feel guilty about it, because it doesn't work for me. And so I don't expect it to work for other people as well. But anyways, it's Let This Radicalize You. And so that's also really great content from somebody who is organizer, somebody who really is very much like, I don't need my face out there. I just want to quietly do the work and sit in the corner. And it's, well organized and pretty great from everything that I've dug out about it. So, okay. Oh, I missed somebody's. Sorry, Cirrus. Is that how I pronounce that? Cirrus? I missed that. Sorry, you guys. This is Nugget. She's being an asshole. Yes. Say I snuck into this room and now I'm barking. Say because I'm rude. Yes. Say I'm very rude. Designing a community self-defense course, but I'm a white queer guy. Does digesting Negroes with guns. Do you have anything else that is crucial to have in there? Ooh, community self-defense is going to be, if you're on my email list, and I included, so what I put in the last list was Negroes with Guns, We Refuse, W.E.B. Du Bois, Black Reconstruction, but that's a very big, thick book. So I try not to just recommend it outright because it's like the copy I have, the copies I got, they're this big, like literally. So it's a thick book. So that's like, it can be really useful for certain things. I'm trying to remember what else I had on my list, because if I go and I mess with this, if I mess with the search engine that I have it on, I'm going to forget. Yes, guest lecture is back. Why are you sitting like that today? Oh my God, my brain is blanking. Oh, Dr. Jen Jackson, I'm always going to share their stuff because obsessed. Black Women taught us. Black Women taught us. It talks about armed resistance, but a whole bunch of other aspects. It doesn't call itself resistance, but that's what it is. Send me a message and I'll make sure that I send you the other list. Hi, Alaya. We are talking about the state of resistance being all of the different aspects of work we do. Hello. Samira, are you on here? Hello. So yeah. Just recently learned my area has a Friends of the Library group that sells retired library books donated to kids for cheap. Yes, you can find a lot of stuff like that. Haymarket Books, depending on your financial stability, has a program that's $30 a month, and they will mail you like 2 to 3 books a month that are new releases. I just got my 2 copies. One is about the Iranian Revolution. The other one is about Palestine and Israel, but it's from it's about Palestine, about deconstructing Palestine. It talks about the history and talking about like everything that has happened to the Palestinian people. But I think it also has some poetry in it. Haven't had a chance to really peek inside of it yet, but it looks pretty great. And so that's a $30 a month program. All right. I have gotten you guys through the worst part of He Who Shall Not Be Named. So I'm going to be winding this down. Now that I'm also more distracted. You're very weird, Nugget. I hope you know that. Yeah. Why are you like this? You don't know? She doesn't know. She's looking because she's thinking about barking at the noises that my mom is making. Like literally, she's staring at the door and she's gonna bark. There's no reason to bark. She knows exactly who it is making the sound. She just likes to bark at people. Any other questions? What are the things y'all going through with the last little bit of time we have here together? Oh God, so much hair. If you don't have an animal, then you may not know that this is shedding time, which means I'm going to have to fully wash this shirt. And frogs, yes. And the frogs are back, you guys. The frogs are back outside, so we're going to have some more frog fun. Also, I have frogs on my earrings. These are the earrings that I sell that say my tummy hurts and I'm mad at the government. There's always a reason to be mad at the government. Our government that we have. What else are y'all thinking about? This is obviously a very informal closing, but I wanted to give people space to just breathe and, I want to make sure that you guys don't fall into the news cycle after this either. I promise you, there's nothing being said tonight that is that important that you cannot learn about in a couple of days. I promise you. Like, I would swear on everything that I've ever owned that there's nothing that you need to be staring at the news for tonight, because all of the major news organizations are going to be obsessing about the speech. And they're just going to repeat things. See? Stop it. Why are you barking at her? You know it's her. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, don't watch. And I'm not saying don't ever watch the news, but it's very important to be cautious of how you watch the news. High critical intelligence. You can rewatch this stream. I'm here for a few more minutes, but no stress. Oh, thank you, Delaney. I'm glad. Oh, I'm so glad somebody shared my post on Instagram. I love that. I have managed to very deeply upset both Instagram and TikTok. So my content is not going anywhere. And I've had multiple videos taken down, which is why I got an attitude and I didn't repost the second part of my other video because I was very annoyed. TikTok took down the video I posted today. You're going to watch a nature documentary and smoke. Excuse me. Make sure you remember to eat. People are always forgetting to eat. Hold on, TikTok. You got to keep yourself fed. Okay, TikTok, sorry. Is it really going to do this right now? I swear, sometimes the reception. Okay, hold on. Don't ask me why. As soon as I want to do anything on TikTok, then it chooses to be very unhelpful. And my reach on my platforms has been very bad as of late. So, I think the video I shared today didn't even get 1,000 views on Instagram. That's okay. Do the last homework assignment when you get a chance. That's why there's no assignment for this week. There's no assignment. Life is busy. There was no assignment. I'll give one now after spring break. So you guys will have one for the next class that we'll be having on the 18th. 18th. Yeah, the 18th is very likely the next class. So yes. And I have a little schedule thing I was going to send out today and do a whole overview, but I figured we don't really need to do that right now. So the 18th will be the next class. That's the next assignment you'll have. It's going to be something easy. So the last homework assignment, yes, was the video groups. I was going to send an email the day after, and then I got some feedback from some people that things were getting really busy for the last week of February. So I didn't want to add anything else onto there for now. I figured people could just, breathe. Elea said, am I enjoying teaching the class? Yes. I love teaching. I love it to death. I am, however, stressed about myself because I don't like it when I don't get things done in a way that I find to be the most beneficial. Oh, sorry, you guys can't even see Nugget on YouTube, really. Thank you, Nugget. But yes, the last homework assignment was the video groups. So if you didn't get a chance to do that, just go back and watch the video groups, pick 2 groups. I made it to where, you should pick one that's an hour. You don't have to, but you'll end up probably having like 1.5 hours of videos. And some of them are on Instagram, TikTok. So it's not just YouTube videos that are going to drain you on. It's a nice variety. All right, guys, we got about 2 minutes left. And then I am going to myself go eat. And again, I'll share this stream. If somebody managed to watch this whole stream on YouTube, I love you a million times. If you managed to watch the whole stream, then comment a frog. And I will add you onto my sticker list. Yeah, YouTube's not giving me many issues now that I'm using a service called Restream to stream to YouTube. So ever since I did that, we haven't had any tech issues. But I don't like the quality because the quality isn't as high as it could be, but it's fine. I think I have a way to connect my battery, not my battery, my phone, and use like this battery system that I have to make it to where it looks. Thank you. I love y'all too. I'm really grateful to have y'all. I'm truly, really grateful to be able to do this work that I do. Because, in order, 2 minutes of Nugget. Okay, here's Nugget. In order to do this work, I have to have people that are willing to let me do this work. We have a request for ending the night with Nugget. So this is Nugget. She is not small, but small. Small, small, small. Nugget, how old are you? I think someone just sent a GIF, but I can't see it through Restream, unfortunately. Oh, I'm sorry, TikTok. I don't know why TikTok just goes nuts. It just gets an attitude for absolutely no reason. I can't see graphics on the stream. If I show them to y'all, they look pretty good, but it doesn't look good whenever I try and see them. Nugget is the for those of you who asked, Nugget's the mama of the one that's the one that's barking is her husband or her baby daddy at the very least, because she can't be tied down. And Echo, the chaotic dog that barks at frogs, is her son. Hello. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there no sound for you guys on Instagram? We do also have really bad wind about to happen right now. We had bad tornado warnings last night, worse than normal, but not like the worst. So it knocked out the power for a few hours. So the internet might be slightly unhelpful right now. Oh, say thank you, Nugget. Say yes. Okay, hold on again, TikTok. Also, I do have AT&T on one of my phones, and AT&T is one of the worst phone services of all time. But it has the most coverage in Texas. Nugget, never let a man tie you down. Yes, Nugget cannot be held down. See, yes. How old are you? I think we got her in 2018. No, 2019. Yes, because I had short blonde hair then, but it was longer than this. And that was our first selfie. 2019 in January. So we've had Nugget since 2019 in January. Her personality, I really think honestly she gives Leo vibes, but because she was born in December, I don't know what zodiac sign that is, but she's definitely something. A very unique experience to have the Nugget as a part of your life. She likes to eat stale food from the floor. Oops. If you try and give her fresh food, she will not eat it. Nugget does not like fresh dog food. She likes stale dog food. What else do you like, Nugget? She likes long walks in the park. No, yeah, I'm in Texas. She also likes barking at everything. Very literally, everything. Everything. If somebody falls 2 miles away, she's going to know and she's going to yell at them for falling. This is her personality. But also, she's a ride or die. I always say, if I was going into war, this would be my war general. This is who I would have going into war with me. I'd have her leading. If I came across a Nugget and they were on the opposite side, I would probably turn around and go home. Because she is violent. She looks cute. She's the smallest dog we have here, but she is the most violent. And she's probably the most effectively violent. So she's not just talk. She will find a way to hurt you. Very literally. Sagittarius. Yeah, so you're probably a Sagittarius, aren't you? Why are you falling asleep? Arr. 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 Are you going to bark? Arr. 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 Nugget. Arr. 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 Say goodnight by barking. Arr. 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 Nugget, bark. I'm giving you permission. Now you don't want to do it? Arr. Arr. Mom, can you tell her to bark? We're trying to say goodnight. She won't bark all of a sudden. Ma, can you tell Nugget to bark? Arr. Arr. Do it. Arr.
Where is she?
How come you won't bark all of a sudden? We're trying to say goodnight. Why won't you say goodnight? Hold on. Mom's getting her a treat. Ugh. You have to have a proper goodnight, y'all. She's offering her. She's just going to keep sniffing.
Bark. Give me a bark.
Be like Nugget, a true
Come
friend
on,
in
wait,
Violet.
wait. No, give me a bark.
Oh my
No,
god.
she's trying to
She's
get
trying to get to the treat.
Give me a bark. No, give me a bark.
Oh,
Come on,
more
Nugget.
hair.
Say rock. No, I don't need. I need rock. Come on, rock. Nope.
Oh, you're gonna end the stream by accident.
Say rock. Rock. Nope. Bark. I need a big bark. Big bark. Big bark. Bark. Come on, give me a big bark.
Oh my god. Mom, just give her the
Look at
treat.
that hair. Her
Just-
hair is
oh,
everywhere.
it's so
She's
bad.
shedding badly on you. Bark. Bark. Good.
The audio was off. She turned the audio off by accident. She did hit the mute button. I don't even know how she hit it. Oh my god, there's so much hair. Okay, well, I hope that you all have enjoyed this. I hope that you go and sit and stretch and breathe. Do not go stare at news. It's not useful, it's not helpful. Find yourself something to do. And if you really can't think straight, figure out what ways you can be a menace to the system this week. You guys can't see the hair on there because her hair is light brown, almost white, but there's so much hair on here right now. So much hair. Oh my god, I don't even understand how a dog sheds this much. Thank y'all so much for being amazing. I'm grateful to have y'all, and I will see y'all soon. Reminder, we're not going to have class next week if you're part of the class, but I'll be going live and we'll have some chats, conversations. If I told you to email me, please email me. I did mean it. Follow up with me in a week if I do not follow back. I apologize. We have executive dysfunction and general dysfunction. So dysfunction on every level, but I'm glad to be able to provide this for you guys. So this will be live if you want to rewatch it. And thank you so much. I will say good night to you all. Goodbye, lovelies.